William Moyers has been committed to eliminating barriers to recovery from addiction to alcohol and other drugs. As Vice President of Public Affairs and Community Relations at Hazelden, the Betty Ford Foundation, Moyers leads the organization policy and advocacy activities. From carrying the message about addiction, treatment, and recovery to public policy and philanthropy, Moyers brings a wealth of professional expertise and an intimate personal understanding to communities across the nation. He uses his own experience to highlight the power of addiction and the power of recovery. Broken, My Story of Addiction and Redemption, became a New York Times bestseller and is now in its third printing. His new book, Now What? An Insider's Guide to Addiction and Recovery, was released October 2012 by Hazelden. William Moyers has appeared on Larry King Live and Oprah and is a regular contributor to Good Morning America. As a former journalist for CNN, his work has been featured in the New York Times, USA Today, and Newsweek. He also produces a nationally syndicated column on addiction-related issues for Creators City. Moyers lives in St. Paul, Minnesota with his 3 children. Please join me in welcoming William Moyers.
Thank you. I couldn't have said it better if I had written it myself. I did write that. Thank you all for being here. I got to tell you, I'm out of breath. I'm out of breath because I haven't been on the college campus like this in a long time. And since I got here yesterday afternoon, they have kept me running the whole time. And I'm a lot older now than I was when I was your age. And I was on the college campus as a student, and I'm a little bit breathless from what happened yesterday afternoon and last night and all this morning. And this is the concluding opportunity I have to be with you. But I'm also a little bit talked out. My throat's a little dry, and I haven't had a lot of time to formally prepare what I want to share with you today. But I've had a lot of time. I've had years actually to stand before you today and share a little bit of my own story. The good news about today is that most of you, I think, have read Broken. Is that correct? I'm not going to put anybody on the spot who's not read it. But if you haven't read it, you should. And I'll tell you that the fact that you've read the book makes it a little bit easier for me to stand up here today and share with you, because I don't have to tell you a whole lot of my story. You know my story, right? You've read Broken, you know my story. You've been required to read it as part of the freshman class, although I think we have a number of high school students here too. Is that correct today? Yes? Do we? Good. And so you might not have had a chance to read it yet, but I'm not going to stand up here for the next hour and talk to you about my story, in part because you've read the book, and because if I was to stand up here and spend the whole hour telling you my story, then it would really shortchange you. This is really a community conversation here on the campus today, and I want to thank President Houston and the faculty and the administration for making it possible for me to be part of this remarkable dialogue. You want to know something about you all in St. Catherine's? What's happening here does not happen very often. It's very unusual. It's rare for a college campus like this one, or even a larger college campus, to invite me to come here and talk about topics that, aren't necessarily what administrations want or think should be talked about on campus. I give thousands of talks since I started working at Hazelden in 1996. I give thousands of talks. And I can probably count on 2 hands the number of opportunities I've had to carry my message to college campuses. There's a problem, but it's a problem that college campuses either don't want to deal with or don't know how to deal with. And so the fact that I'm with you today, the hour, as I had been last night and earlier this morning, talking about some difficult subjects, is a great honor for me in my own journey, because this is the exception rather than the rule. And I want to be able to thank President Houston and the administration, the faculty, Sister Mary Louise Edwards, and others for making it possible for me to bring you my story of addiction and redemption. If I could do this once a week, 50 weeks in a year, then I would help to prepare the next generation for what you're going to deal with in your personal lives, in the lives of your families, in the lives of your community, and in the lives of the professions that you're going to pursue, be it physical therapy, mathematics, social work, law enforcement, law, sports, whatever it is. Addiction does not discriminate. I'm a prime example of it. Addiction doesn't care whether you're black or white, Catholic or Protestant, no faith, whether you're from Indiana, Kentucky, Minnesota, whether you come from a whole family or a broken home. Addiction does not care. And it is vitally important that you, as the next generation of leaders in your communities and in this country, it is vitally important that among the many things that you get to know, that you need to know, one of them is how to deal with people like me. Now, I can tell you it's a lot easier to deal with me when I'm sober than it was when you read about what happened on the morning of October the 12th of 1994 when my father said, "I hate you." And I said, "I hate you too." I was a mess. And I'm not going to stand up here and say this is an onerous thing to do, but the reality is that all of you young people in here today are going to be in the vanguard of the next generation of leaders in our country. Whether you're leaders in a school, leaders in law enforcement, leaders in church, leaders in the capital of Kentucky, leaders in the capital of the United States, you're all going to be leaders in addiction, treatment, and recovery issues are going to be paramount to so many of the challenges and the opportunities that you face to help people like me, from families like mine, and communities like ours. And so I feel it a great honor, not that you're here, but that I'm here with you. What an honor for me to have a chance to have some community dialogue for the next now 55 minutes or so around these issues. And I know we have some essays. You know, we can spend the next hour reading from the essays, and you would all be better people for it. I would certainly go back to Minnesota this afternoon. I could go back to St. Paul tonight so I can be there for my daughter's volleyball game. She's a senior in high school, the last of my 3 children. Nancy, who is in the book, as a little girl, is now almost an 18-year-old 6'1", blonde, blue-eyed volleyball player, captain of her team in high school. And don't be getting the wrong thoughts there, man. She's got a boyfriend. But I made a commitment in her last year of school that I'm going to be at every one of her volleyball games. And so I had a commitment to be here today. I need to get home this evening, which means we don't have as much time as we would like to have. We can spend the next hour reading from your essays, and I would learn a lot when I go back to St. Paul this afternoon about what you know, about what I need to know more of. I want to tell you this, and I want to open this up to conversation in a few minutes. It doesn't matter whether you encounter addiction in your own lives, and my hunch is that most of you will if you haven't already. What matters is this. Take it from an old guy like me. I was once your age. It's hard to believe. I was once 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. I could have never fathomed the idea that one day I would be what I am today at 55. It goes by quickly, doesn't it? Incredible. I wasted my teens, all of my 20s, half of my 30s, before I got the chance to begin to realize my goals, my objectives, my dreams. I wasted them because I was stuck in a disease that does not discriminate. One that can take a good person like me and cause him to do all kinds of things that you read in the book that were exactly the opposite of how I was raised. When we get to be 55 years old or older, we'll realize that the gift of the gift of youth, which is alive and well in this room today and alive and well in this campus, alive and well in the community, the gift of youth is fleeting. It's here right now, and it will be gone before you know it, before you can believe it. And I implore each and every one of you, while you still can and you can, to use the most, take advantage of what you have, which is youth. Good brains, big hearts, teachable moments. Take these years, take them as the gift that they are, and be all that you can be. Because I didn't get that chance. I mean, I had the opportunity, but I very quickly, from the time I smoked marijuana at the age of 16, I didn't smoke marijuana, ever believing that I would end up in that crack house in the morning of October 12th, 1994. I smoked marijuana for the same reason that maybe some of you have experimented. It's just what young people do, take chances. I wanted to belong, be part of the bigger group, and I thought everybody was doing that back then in the mid-1970s. When I smoked marijuana for the first time, as I shared with the group last night, I did it and it made me feel good. There's nothing wrong with feeling good. Human beings, we're designed to seek pleasure. And there's all kinds of ways to seek pleasure. What I didn't realize when I smoked marijuana is that it would turn on a light switch in my brain, which I could not turn off of my own free will. It hijacked my brain. And off I went down that road. I smoked marijuana at 16, legally drank at the age of 18 in 1977. Began to use illegal drugs in my early 20s. And you know what happened to me. I don't have to tell you. Oh, only I had known what the gift of youth was all about, opportunity. Only I had known what the gift of youth was about. Maybe I would have pursued a different path. Who knows? I can't look back and regret it because it is what it is. But I can tell you today, as the young people and the next generation of leaders that you are, treat these days, these times, these years as the gift that they are. And if you haven't started to experiment with substances, wait. Because you know what? What is the last brain in the body to develop? Brain. The last organ in the body to develop is the brain. And when you smoke marijuana or drink or do whatever it is, where does that go? It goes into the brain. Guess what happens in the brain? It's where we make decisions. Good, bad, right, or wrong decisions. And when I began to smoke marijuana, instantly I could no longer make the decisions that would allow me to become the resilient young people that all of you are. So as I said, I wasted my late teens, all of my 20s, half of my 30s before I said, you know what? I don't want to die from this illness. I better take personal responsibility. I want to live a life of recovery one day at a time. So I've done that now for almost the last 20 years. I've been committed to the process of recovery one day at a time since that morning of October 12th, 1994. And I can tell you anything. These are the days and years of your gifts. Use them wisely. It does not mean you use them flawlessly. Human beings are designed to make mistakes. And I will tell you, especially looking among the sea of young people today, you will make mistakes. That's okay. The key to the life that I think all of us in this room are living is what we learn from the mistakes that we make. What we learn from the mistakes that are inevitable to living life in life's terms as the human beings that we are. I'm really lucky, blessed, whatever you want to call it. Some of both. I do believe that coincidence is God's way of being anonymous. How else could I explain that here? It's more than coincidence. I do believe, though, that you're never too old to learn from your mistakes. One of the things I wanted to show you, one of the things I wanted to implore you was to realize that from adversity comes opportunity. I used to think I could never become an addict and an alcoholic, and then when I became an addict and an alcoholic, I thought it was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. But I learned all these years later that it's actually the best thing that ever happened to me. Why? Because it allowed me to change my life. It allowed me to learn from the mistakes that I made. And what I learned is that from adversity comes opportunity. This is a 3-ring binder. It cost 79 cents in 1989. When I was locked up in a psychiatric ward in New York City, you know it from the book if you read the book, I came out of the crack house in Harlem, New York, on August the 6th of 1989, and they put me in a psychiatric ward of a hospital in New York City that was fenced in with concertina, barbed wire all around the top. I was allowed to go out 1 day a week. I hadn't broken the law, but I was not well. They didn't know what to do with me. Notwithstanding all the resources I had for my family, I was a pretty sick person in 1989. And so they locked me up. And one day my mother came to see me and bring me some bottled water and some chocolate chip cookies for homemade. She brought me this 3-ring binder. It was empty at the time. And for 1 week, that first week that after she brought it to me, it remained empty. Until Sunday, August the 13th of 1989, I started to write in it. When I started to write in this journal in 1989, I had no idea that I would end up writing a book called Broken. I had no idea that my journey actually would go lower before I would start to come back up. I had no idea of what would happen to me. I was 30 years old. The sky was still the limit. I had a problem called drugs and alcohol. I did not realize that that my alcoholism was more than just being left-handed. My alcoholism was all of me. I had no idea what that meant. But I began to write on August 13th, 1989. And you know what? I wrote 1 page a day. 1 page a day, August 13th of 1989, and it says, 1 week has passed since I crawled into this prison. 1 week filled with despair, frustration, anger, fear, uncertainty, and a sense of having failed everyone I know, including myself. It wasn't easy coming here. It was even tougher admitting that my disease was drug addiction. But 1 week later, I am still intact, and I am still alive. And so I began to write a page a day. A page a day is 365 pages a year. 365 pages a year is a book a year. And while I did not start out to write a book, this is the essence of what will become Broken, the speeches I give, my new book, Now What, and all those other things. The point I share with you today about this is, from adversity comes opportunity. Everyone in this room, particularly among the younger generation, will face adversity in your personal lives and in your professional lives. So I say to you, write it down. Every one of you wrote this book, and many of you came to me today and said, William, how do you write a book? A page a day is a book a year. Write it down now, because you won't remember it the same way 20, 30 years from now as you will if you write it down in that moment. Carry it. My life, I know, is an example of the power of addiction and the promise and possibility of recovery. My life is an example that from adversity comes opportunity. Go figure. When I would come back to a college campus in central Kentucky, the holy land of America, and get to stand up in front of you today and share. Yeah, you know what? Becoming an addict and alcoholic is the best thing that happened to me, because I got another chance, because I recovered. So I want to thank you all for inviting me into your community as we continue to have a conversation. conversation that will, I hope, help you. I hope help the people whose lives that you touch. But I know when I get on the plane this afternoon, this community will have helped me too. Thank you very much.